Well, this time we're talking about the innovation with new age talent and sustainability. And spearheading this conversation, this time we have Ashutosh Sinha, who's a senior editor of the Economic Times. But our guest who's joining in is none other than Ashwin Yardi, CEO India, Capgemini. And he was also the Chief Industrialization and Automation Officer until 2020 and was driving the competitiveness and industrialization of delivery of Capgemini portfolio. This involves leading the organization's focus on building a knowledge-driven delivery model and deploying intelligent automation to help clients derive the best value. So let's deep dive and let's gather more insights from this beautiful conversation featuring none other than Mr. Ashwin Yardi.
Hello and welcome. We're talking about a series of topics, a series of issues on the Global Business Summit. Today, my guest to talk about something very interesting, innovation. My guest is Ashwin Yardi, he's CEO of Capgemini India. Thank you so much, Ashwin, for joining us for this conversation.
My pleasure.
We're talking at a very interesting time. Uncertainty all around us in the marketplace, beyond the markets, in the geopolitical space. Do you feel optimistic for the years to come?
So, last few years have been quite earth-shattering, or a big swan events, whichever way you want to refer to. But what I'm very optimistic, and especially coming from a technology sector, is while all these difficulties do exist, and probably we'll see a few more, what's important is as a society and as human beings, we are focusing on several key topics which are relevant for humanity. And what I'm also very proud of is a lot of them are being very actively solved through technology. You take the case of COVID, and you look at it, how despite all the challenges of COVID, including healthcare, a lot of issues were solved through technology. May it be a solution of virtual healthcare, telemedicine, or any other similar solutions, including a lot of AI and analytics, which has gone in building the vaccinations at much speedier pace, including our COVID app. As if you can look at it, how the app has also been key factor for 1 billion and now getting closer to 2 billion vaccinations in a country as large as ours. Then you look at what's happening in financial inclusion, with so many fintechs coming into play, with blockchain, with so many other technologies, and also what we do with our own Aadhaar-enabled technology solutions. Again, we've taken financial solutions to the last mile. And then how can I forget everything that's being done around sustainability? It's a key topic for, again, the planet, and everybody's focused on it. And for me, technology has a key role to play in solving the sustainability challenges. So if you look at it, yes, it is a difficult, we've seen some difficult times in near past, but what I'm also very optimistic is, as humanity, we focused on the right challenges, and then coming from IT industry, we have really leveraged the right technologies to solve these problems. So, quite optimistic, and there are many good things to happen in future is what I would say.
Okay, that's the optimism. You've also referred to the innovation kind of innovation that you're talking about. What does it mean to be an innovative company in 2022? And how does that culture of innovation, or if I may call that micro-innovation, seep through organizations?
So that's a very good point. And today, when we talk to our several customers or several stakeholders, the topmost topic on their mind is about innovation. Okay. we all have seen how the businesses have got totally disrupted across industries, across sectors. And today you see your competitor could be in any other sector. So you might be in a consumer products business, or you could be in retail business, or you could be in healthcare, and the disruptor is from a very new generation business. All of this is driven by innovation. But we also feel innovation is multi-scale or multi-dimension. It could be improving something by 10%, or it could be improving something by 10x. So there is an entire spectrum of innovation, and there would be different types of innovation which the organizations will work upon at different points of time. That's one part. The second very important part about innovation now is today almost entirely across the system, everybody is working with different partners and players in the innovation ecosystem. So what's also very important about innovation is you work with a wider ecosystem, not limited only to your organizations. And that's where we see not only Capgemini is working very closely with its several startup ecosystem, we see our partners and clients working with their own startup ecosystem. And you see so many interesting startups coming in different solutions, in AI, in big data, in cloud, in what's the hottest topic of metaverse, or it may be healthcare, logistics. And we all are working with that ecosystem to solve the problem. Third is also, and which is very important, is academia playing a very important role in driving innovation. So again, we have signed up with different academic institutes to help our clients with building the innovation solutions. Incidentally, we also partnered recently with the Nobel Foundation, to take the future of science and technology to a wider society. We've partnered with one of our partners, IBM, for quantum labs. So again, innovation is happening in the ecosystem with startups and at different levels of scale, from 10% to 10x. And a lot of it is for real. You see small solutions coming up which help you solve some of the complex society problems, leveraging technology and bringing innovation to the stakeholders.
So from your point of view then, Ashwin, what kind of innovation will be the most important disruptive ones, so to say, in the next few years? Could these be the micro innovations, that 10% to the 10x? How do you put that in various buckets?
So it's a very, very difficult question, Ashutosh, to pinpoint which one and whether it will be 10x.
So or the broad trend, maybe the broad one, if you can share. Obviously, it's very difficult to pinpoint something.
Yeah. So what I would say is I would probably answer it in a slightly different way, is the innovations which will really have an impact are the ones which solve an immediate and real business problems. To give you an example, today 5G is going to be one of a very important technologies which will help us solve a lot of critical problems. The best or one of the best use cases of deploying 5G is what was done or experimented in telemedicine, and a lot more can be done in that space. AI, again, would have a very important role to play across the spectrum of use cases, from healthcare to education. Again, we will see far more user specific, education being created, curated to help the learners based on what's their learning ability. And AI will have a big role to play there. Then we heard a lot about the new experience about metaverse. And again, it's not limited only to the AR or augmented reality or virtual reality experience. Metaverse is way beyond that. It's going to be about doing business in a virtual world. So you see there are companies which are launching new products on metaverse, and people are buying sneakers on metaverse. Okay, so it's not only the experience, but it will also be about financial transactions, tokenization, leveraging new financial disintermediation like blockchain and others. So
Sure.
if you really ask me, it's the entire spectrum. Some basic automation will come in a big way in how fast and how rapidly we respond to our customers. So frankly, if you ask me, all these technologies can create the 10x effect, but to start with, some of them would have 10% effect, which also would be a good impact for the right use cases and right relevant topics.
Okay, so the natural extension of that question, I would imagine, would be, in a world where everything is or possibly is connected, how do we ensure that technology has a positive social impact? And if possible, nobody is left behind.
That's a really, really good point. The negative side of technology and also what we've seen is a lot of this is, if you have the access to technology, you can take the benefits of technology. Okay, so what we saw during COVID is everything went virtual. But imagine somebody who's staying in a remote village, and if she doesn't have an access to internet or doesn't have an access to mobile device, unfortunately, they would miss out on the benefits of it. What we also seen is AI is a great solution, but also comes with a lot of biases because sometimes it based on all the existing data. Okay, and we've seen there are many products, many services which have a very gender bias, and if you use AI to further build on that, you will actually not negate it but perpetuate that gender bias, or it could be color bias, it could be race bias. So I think what's going to be very important is to understand the flip side of leveraging technology and ensuring how we address them. So especially if I have to take the topic of AI, again, great benefits, a lot of complex problems could be solved by it, but it comes with a lot of privacy top issues. It comes with a lot of bias issues. And there is a lot of work being done, and I think everybody who consumes leverages AI should be aware of the ethical AI topics. So you see a lot of agencies or institutions are building ethical AI framework. How do you avoid, how do you prevent the or avoid perpetuating the bias of existing data? That's very important. The second thing is, as I said, the reach of technology. What we have to really work on as a country, and frankly, I'm very impressed with how we, as I mentioned, how we rolled out vaccinations, or how we have been rolling out the Aadhaar-based benefits. It's great, as in, a lot of the benefits are given based on if you have a Aadhaar number, and at times the problem was, how does, if you're in, again, a remote village, how do you authenticate Aadhaar, or how do you authenticate the underlying key sort of authentic elements of it? And we see the financial disintermediation which has been done recently, with the new regulations on financial services, we see, the tertiary banking which has been introduced, okay, taking technology and the services to the remotest of the world, are some of the examples of how the positives of technology have been leveraged, and also any limitations of reach or access have been addressed. And again, we'll have to continue to work on it. But again, being optimistic, I see clearly we recognize the challenges, and there are a lot of good organizations, a lot of like-minded leaders who are seeing how to address that and take the benefits of technology to the last mile, so that they benefit in their own, and get the future they want, as we would say in Capgemini.
Okay, just trying to squeeze one or two more questions. If you can keep the answers short to them. This is regarding sustainability you spoke about. How can organizations reinvent themselves in a responsible and sustainable way? And if you can also mention a little bit about Capgemini and what it's doing towards it.
It's an extremely important topic for the planet and for Capgemini. So as Capgemini, we have announced we want to be carbon neutral by 2025, and be on a path of carbon net zero. And we are working on the details of it, especially considering the COP26 program, the latest COP26 guidelines. What's the most important and step one for every organization is to understand their carbon footprint. And mind you, it's not very easy, to know what's your scope 1, scope 2, and the most complex one is scope 3. And to understand it, it's going to be the step 1 and a complex one. So what we are working is, for ourselves, we have laid out year-on-year plan on various levers of going to carbon neutral and then eventually to carbon net zero. Is first, build the analytics to understand what's our consumption and carbon footprint. 2, wherever possible, move to renewable. So Capgemini on its own campuses in India generates upwards of 10 or 12 megawatts of renewable energy. Where we can't generate, we procure renewable energy. And then look at a lot more recycling and the circular economy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are a few things. And what we also committed is not only that we will do our bit for ourselves, but we will help our clients save 10 million tons of carbon footprint over 2030. So these are a few things we are doing, and something which each responsible organization should focus on and build a plan.
Okay, one last question, and this is about the talent shortage that everyone's been talking about. What's your perspective about it, and how can companies address the issue? We're calling it the decade for the 2020s.
So in the short term and near term, we definitely see the demand far outstrips the supply. And one way to solve the problem is actually look at different sources of talent. And what I mean by different sources of talent is, a lot of times we are very comfortable in hiring in tier 1 cities. I think we need to go to tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 cities. Work from home has enabled this, significantly, and we should really build upon it to look at talent from different parts of the country. The second important thing is, again, there are many different skills which are required. And for several of them, you don't need a 4-year engineering curriculum, and you don't need a 4-year engineering graduate. There are user experience skills. There are, in sustainability or other, there are many different skills. If you look at circular economy, there are different skills. So we need to really open up our horizon and outlook to hire who are 10+2 graduates. People come with different abilities. Like one of the things which is spoken about is that people who have sort of attention syndrome or some of challenges are actually very good in solving some of the most complex data modeling problems. Now it's being discussed, yet to be fully understood. So again, what I want to say is the skills, we need to open up a new page on how we build talent, where we build talent from, and what do we look in our talent. And that's the way to solve it. Again, India continues to be a big talent hub across the world for technology. And I just see that with all that we've delivered during last 2 years of work from home and a very disruptive model, the demand for talent from India will actually even more grow even more in coming years.
Okay, thank you so much, Ashwin, for being with us and talking about this fantastic conversation we've had. So important to talk about that democratization of opportunity and what we end up doing as a community. Thank you indeed for being with us for this conversation.
Thanks, Ashutosh, for all the questions and insightful discussion.